You're totally right. I think they should have leaned into that. However, it's led to this kind of complacency amongst the general public. It's led to this lack of resistance, and something that we've been trying to really gin up amongst our audience is a desire to resist the craziness. There's so much normalization. Donald Trump just scammed the American people out of $55 billion with the crypto scam. Nobody's even talking about it. We haven't talked about the fact that he's trying to roll back birthright citizenship, okay, in a way that it struck me. When I first read that, I was laying in bed next to my girlfriend, and she was like, Zach, I'm pretty sure under this law,
Flex.
I wouldn't have been born a citizen, right? And I was like, holy shit. This is like,
Yeah.
in a weird way, like now it's like insanely personal for me on a way that it hadn't been before. So it just blew my fucking mind. And it's crazy. And I think AOC, despite the criticism that we just offered her, kind of does a great job going on independent, or, kind of crossing the line between independent. It's Jon Stewart's personal podcast. And talking about this, I wanted to get your reaction to it quickly, Emma.
Sure.
What makes this go around with Trump so much more dangerous than the first time around is exactly what you're saying. It's that he is much more normalized this time around than he was the first time. The first time, people were really on edge, they were on guard, they were very vigilant about any break that he would have with these norms. This time, the norms are becoming him. Like, the norms are embracing him. Even these like little things that people may not, like everyday working people may not care about, but they are strong cultural signals. Oscar de la Renta, like dressing all of the women, like there's all these cultural symbols, right?
I see, participating now in this when they wouldn't have participated in the past.
Exactly.
I see what you're saying.
Exactly. So like all of these people that were scared before about like being associated with him, from the most common basic level to the most elite level, they're all like they're all in now, because this is now a billionaire feeding frenzy. It is a kiss ass race.
Man.
It is, how can I show how much fealty I have to Donald Trump in order to get my digs. And I think what's really important for people to understand, and like now and every day of this administration, is that you're being ripped off. You're being ripped off, dude. Like, everyone is being ripped off.
And that's the main thing I wanted to get your reaction to. How do we get the American people fired up and outraged about the fact that they have been scammed, they have been duped, they have been bamboozled? We heard constantly all these right wingers talk about, oh, it was the single greatest upward transfer of wealth during COVID when they did the bailouts. And I was not a big fan of the bailouts, but I thought the American people did deserve those COVID checks. It was a whole bit of hysteria. None of those people have anything to say, as Donald Trump does one of the greatest upward transfers of wealth. The fact that he's now up for sale on a global market of untraceable finances, where he's boasting about his ability to take bribes now. Okay. He's going to have Jared Kushner opening up fucking luxury real estate condos in Gaza.
Yep.
And overlooking the beaches, and everybody is going to be praising him for doing a ceasefire. And it's like, I am so glad for any moment that there is no suffering in Gaza. Absolutely cannot fathom the horror of any of those people. It goes without saying, none of us could fathom that. But at the same time, guys, when you cheerlead that, you are playing right into him and Netanyahu's hand. There's a reason that Benjamin Netanyahu's wife was eating dinner with him and Lindsey Graham, and had a great seated inauguration and all that going on. How do we bring back the resistance? Gavin made the point on Twitter, I think it was a day ago, that it has to be punk rock. It has to be edgy. It has to be cool. It can't be liberal coded. It has to be outsider coded. We have to take back this outsider nest.
Yeah, it can't be a defense of the pre-Trump status quo.
Exactly.
Yeah.
How do we go about that, Emma?
That's a great question, and like great framing by both of you guys, because it can't. The COVID was such a shock. I mean, it really was like almost reverse shock doctrine, where it was such a shock to folks that the desire to return to anything that resembled normalcy was why Biden won. I mean, Biden always bragged about how he was the only guy to defeat Donald Trump. Well, like, dude, I don't know if in 2016 or in 2024 you could have done that. It was
Now
really
you're the only guy to lose to him.
yeah, right. I mean, it was like, well, now he can blame Kamala for that, but
true.
right. But like, it was the set of circumstances that allowed the Democrats to make that argument. But absent of that horrific thing where, horrific pandemic where over 1 million people died and our economy was in free fall, I just don't necessarily know if that argument would have worked. So it does have to be more about like Obama. Oh, wait. Obama '08 was when I first got invested in politics, and it was really because of his opposition to the Iraq War. And that felt like a very outsider opinion, even though he was a darling of the Democratic Party for quite a while. And it wasn't a
Ballpark,
Bernie
what age were you, Emma? Like 15?
I was 14, right?
Okay,
and
yeah.
and close enough. And like that was just it was immensely inspiring, and it was why I got invested in the primary. Was I wanted Hillary to lose so badly because she had voted for the Iraq War. And that was a bit of like what you guys are talking about, where that campaign, like McCain didn't have a prayer on election night. I mean, Obama it was done. It was over. Even though he tried to garner some of that energy, and Palin, I would say, is Trump before Trump. Like she was very much a precursor to his movement. So, I think that it does have to be led by a foreign policy that isn't pro genocide. I mean, the bar is the floor, but like the Democrats that have been voting against arms sales to Israel, they got to be laying in the weeds and trying to think about like, how can we take on the corruption and the kleptocracy of the Trump administration? Because I do think like that is, as you were saying earlier, the anticipatory obedience of these institutions. And AOC said Oscar de la Renta, right? Like these fashion houses dressing Usha Vance and Melania Trump. It just means like, okay,
Bro, Usha Vance had no right looking that good. I'm sorry. Somebody had to say it.
she's
She had
unfortunately
no
hot.
right.
Yeah, she's
I was like,
unfortunately hot.
JD doesn't deserve a hot wife. What the fuck?
I know. And I like we could have had a hot president in Kamala. She might have been our hottest president of all time. Like she
MILF in the White House. Come on.
Oh yeah, I mean the MILF without the M, but oh well, I guess she's a stepmom.
That's honestly popping on
MILF.
on the internet. I'm just saying people's preferences.
I have heard about some of that kind of content before. But yeah, so basically I'm going in a bunch of different directions. I think that it's going to be a litmus test for whoever runs in 2028 that they were against the Gaza genocide. But then there needs to be more than this like vague talk about economic populism I'm hearing from guys like Chris Murphy, the senator from Connecticut. No, I don't necessarily buy what that is. Like, what does economic populism mean to a guy like Chris Murphy versus someone like Ilhan Omar or AOC or whatever? It has to be surrounded around one, taking on anti-genocide, standing for humanism. 2, taking on the corruption and the kleptocracy of the Trump administration and making them into the establishment. Let's not exceptionalize Trump by taking him outside of the Republican Party or outside of the establishment just because he pisses people off. I mean, that's kind of what the Liz Cheney thing was doing and the never Trump Republicans. Hey, both these party establishments that you guys hate as a voting population, this guy's hated by both of them. Wow, what a gift to Donald Trump to make that case for him. So make him a part of the establishment, point out how he's a corrupt leader just looting the government for his own ends, and then build a platform on decommodifying the essentials of life. I wrote an op-ed that I never pitched to anybody in January of 2024. I wanted Biden to run on a housing first policy. But I was like so pissed about Gaza. I'm like, I don't even want to like finish this. Who cares? Like this guy deserves to lose. But if the Democrats do focus on housing, decommodifying healthcare, and taking on corruption and a just foreign policy that is anti-imperialist, like I do think that that's a future for the party. But the problem is like I think why we feel so scared at this moment is because there's no true leader of the Democrats anymore. I mean, Biden made that certain.
No, that's why we crave Obama, who took us to 7 wars because he was handsome and he could stump like a motherfucker.
But he could make a case. in a communications platform in communications environment that is so corroded and it's so difficult to break through the noise, you need somebody who can be clear and communicate in a way that is modern and fits how our information age works right now.